Hey, Jimmy, it's Ed Emerson here with Dem Talk America talking to you, boy. I know you can't hear me well. Don't put your face up against the screen. I'm going to ask you just to set the stage. Tell us where you are and what's going on today. What does Robert Kennedy possibly have to say?
We're in the middle of the sound check, as you can see and hear. Oakland, California. This is a Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announcement of his vice presidential candidate. What you see behind me is the main stage. It is about a half hour before call time. I just went outside. There's nobody in line. There's magnetometers that have to go through metal detectors, gear check. Call time for the crowd is 10 o'clock. Supposed to be on stage at 11. This place is absolutely empty. I'll just scan around here. You know, as you can tell, just the floor space, the visual expectation, you know, they need 5,000 people to fill what we call the throw between the camera riser and the main stage. They need 5,000 people to fill this area and this entire area. The visual expectation is that it'll go back to those tables. If that's, I mean, it looks like they're not going to have much of a crowd here. But we'll see. You know, as it sits right now, if this were an event I was running, I'd be very nervous because there's just nobody here. You know, so how's that for a scene setter, Ed?
That's good. I'll take that. We'll talk again in a little bit. How about 10 o'clock?
Yeah, I think that's great. And yeah, I don't know. I'm just I'm happy to be here and see what's going on. But if I were running this thing, I'd be very, very nervous right now, and I'm sure they are.
All right, I'm going to ask you a question, and you don't have to you don't have to hear the whole thing. Do you think if no one shows up, do you think that's a signal for Robert F. Kennedy?
Yeah. At the very least, it shows a lack of organizational planning and execution on things that are hard to do, but you have to do well in politics. The media judges campaigns on how they do this stuff, and right now it's you know, it's a lot more than just setting up a backdrop and lighting and sound. You have to have a crowd element, and right now they don't have it. So if they had picked a more modest room, the headline could be a full room or an overflow room. Right now, it's pretty inevitable the headline's going to be a very small crowd show. But we'll see.
Okay. We'll check back in a half
hour.
That
said, of course, I'm reading lips here, but it's, you know, we'll talk. Call me. All back, right, brother. Thank you.
Hey, back on Dem Talk America here in Oakland.
And cue the music, Ed. I think it's in here. You go.
Jimmy, give us an update on the site, if you could, and tell us how things are going so far.
Well, the doors have been open for a while. Call time for the event is now. It's 10 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time, and there's really nobody here. It's not bad. Yeah, I can just show you. I'm in the press pen here, but yeah, we're looking at an empty room. RFK did a walkthrough of his movements on the stage at 9:17. He was up there for about 5 minutes. Choreography, how the production crew wants him to move. There's no crowd here right now, and it's going to be an issue. It's going to be the lead of this story. I'm pretty sure. You know, they have to go through metal detectors. This is like it's like loading a plane, as you know, Ed. And if they need 5,000 people to make this place seem sort of full. They're I don't know. There's a couple of hundred people here, maybe. Half of them seem to be press. So I don't know how that's not going to be the lead of the story if they stick to their schedule, which is 11. But extending the schedule isn't going to do you any good if you hadn't done the work to build a crowd in the first place. And it appears that they have not. It's a very tough location here. The arena's in Oakland, and there's no real parking. So, yeah, I'm afraid that they're off to, you know, Time Magazine said this is a pivotal moment for the campaign. I think they're right. And it's not helpful to have an empty room.
Jimmy, tell us again where we are. We're at RFK Jr.'s vice presidential announcement.
Yes, in an arena in Oakland. You know, it has to be said, in an empty arena. You can see the white things behind me. That's an attempt at blocking out some of the seats on the upper rows. They built this site for that purpose so that it would be difficult to make angles of empty seats. But as you can see, if you have empty floor space, that hardly matters. So I think they have some sunk costs in draping off the upper balconies. But the whole site, with their production outtakes, they need 5,000 people to make this look like an event site, and they don't have it right now. So that's the news from here, Ed. You got any questions?
Yeah, Jim, is it possible we could get a little press basketball game, pickup basketball game going?
I think we, it's not that kind of arena, but that might be easier than getting several thousand people in here right now.
All right, we'll check back in with Jim Loftus here live from RFK in Oakland. Talk to you at 10:30, Jimmy.
See ya, thanks.
Jim, I can see that the place is filled up a little bit. We're doing okay. People are streaming in right now. Can you tell us, for instance, first of all, tell me, Jim, the relevance to the Biden campaign. What's the relevance to the overall picture here of this event?
Well, I would say that if it continues the way it's looking right now, we're about a half an hour from call time for the remarks. I don't know, it just is a visual reinforcement of how Kennedy performed in Democratic primaries this season. So, yeah, how does the Biden camp look at this? With some, I'd like to think compassion for this campaign organization. But we'll see. I don't know, They have to fill this throw. It's a long throw, but it takes several thousand people to actually fill it. I think that the visual conclusion is going to be that they didn't get the crowd. As you know, that's a function of organization, right? So you can say on the one hand, as campaigns always do, what does that matter? We talk to our supporters. The problem is all these guys here judge them based on how well they do this stuff. And this is their kickoff. Time magazine called it a pivotal moment for the campaign, and I think they're right. So it's better to have a pivotal moment that is seen as a success than a failure, but that's axiomatic, right, Ed?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Do you know anything about this woman he's going to name as VP?
Yeah, Nicole Shanahan. She's a tech billionaire, was married to Sergey Brin, who was one of the founders of Google. They had a dirty divorce. There's all sorts of, there were charges at the time that she had an affair with Elon Musk. So it's got a sort of tawdriness to it. But yeah, she's apparently going to be here. As I told you, we saw RFK out here doing a sort of walkthrough of his movements on the stage about an hour ago. So we'll see. But right now, I think it speaks for itself. The visuals here are less than super impressive. As you know, you need image magnification so a large crowd can see the candidate. Right now, none of these people need these big screens. They are a visual representation of the campaign's expectation about what kind of crowd they were going to get, as is obviously the selection of this site. But it's, it's important to keep in mind that campaigns do things with symbolic reasons, but sometimes you have to let symbolism take a backseat to visuals and to perceptions about how your campaign's going. John F. Kennedy spoke during the general election from this room in 1960. Martin Luther King gave a very famous speech. It was the 100th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation, and he did that in this room. So I think that Kennedy operation felt there's symbolic purpose to choose this site. What the Kennedy campaign in 1960 would not have done is make the mistake of not having a very aggressive crowd-building operation. They didn't assume anything. They were a very tight operation. All of us Democratic operatives are their grandchildren and learned those lessons that the Kennedy campaign did well. This Kennedy campaign is so far not doing a great job on that part. And again, these guys, the media judge you based on how well you do everything, including and particularly public events like this. So that's.
I was just going to, last question was, he's got remarks delivered at 11 o'clock. What do you think his message is going to be for today?
I don't know. I think that he's probably going to joke about it or not mention it at all, right? I don't see an upside for them. They are, I would say, probably also shooting footage for commercials here. They have a jib camera in operation, and they're not doing a house feed so far as I've seen. So this is archival for their campaign.
Right.
The two cameras on the main riser, that cuts camera, which is on a jib. So they'll have visuals. That's something you can cheat because you control the image. But what you can't cheat is what all these unilateral cameras are seeing. We have ABC National here that's not going live, but is taking the whole event. A bunch of local media, many of whom are going live, and will probably not fail to notice that there isn't a crowd here.
All right, very good. Jim Loftus, live in Oakland, California. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Okay, they've begun the pre-program here at the event to announce the vice presidential candidate for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Crowd is still thin. I say that they're getting their what we call nut crowd in place right now. You can see they're filling what is called the throw between the speaking position where the cameras are. So that's okay. The problem is the cutaway shots over here and all these empty seats and empty floor space. But we'll see how that goes. It's going to evolve over the day. They've stretched to 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Call time was 11, so the crowd started coming in at 10, but they actually were here early, and they were allowing crowd in. There just wasn't a lot of people. I don't know if there's still a line outside or not, but there isn't a big flow coming through the metal detectors. So that's where we are. I think that stretching for 2 hours, if you haven't actually done the work to build a crowd, isn't going to do you much good. And it's probably going to anger a lot of people who are standing here. You know, they'll be here for 3 or 4 hours over time. But again, that's part of the basics of event planning and execution, and how campaigns and bring logistics to bear to help the candidate and message get out. So that's where we're at right now. It's just a little shy of 11 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. We'll have 2 more hours, apparently, according to several press people. That's what the campaign told them. So we'll stand by and see how we're doing.
Tim, give us an update here. Dem Talk America, brought to you by Tiger Eye Design. Looks like the crowd filled in pretty well, and looks like it's going well.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's at least 5,000 people. Hold on. I would say it's definitely credit where credit is due. I think he's about to come out. Let's see.